Hello and welcome back to The Swamp. The Swamp is an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And I am Dara.
You couldn't have done that any more naturally if you tried.
I'm so sorry. Before this, I was like, we never introduce ourselves, and like maybe we should get back into it because I feel like the listeners, like as a podcast listener, I like to know whose voice belongs to who when they're speaking. I feel like we don't really address each other by our names a lot, so I was like, let's differentiate it. But yeah, that was really awkward, and I'm sorry. But my name is Dara, and I'm one half of the Swamp, and
I'm Emily.
And so today we are continuing Banger Soundtrack Month with, I think, what might be our combined favorite soundtrack, probably ever. I'm a little whore for some Quentin Tarantino soundtracks. It always just slaps so hard, but this one in particular is just, so we're talking about the first volume of Kill Bill, and this is like kind of a long time coming because this movie...
We've got a history with this.
This movie is just a part of our friendship and both of our lives and our love of film. And like, honestly, I was like nervous to talk about it because it's like the white whale, right? It's like the elephant in the room.
This is a very big deal. I don't know, like, I know that you love this movie and we'll circle back to that, but like this for me, like, I know everyone's probably heard us talk about how you have a thing for Brokeback Mountain and how that's like gonna be you at your just most primal level when we talk about it. This is my Brokeback Mountain. I've got the Kill Bill poster hanging behind me on my wall while I record this.
I know. I was gonna note. I'm like, it's like your ceiling fan, and then to your left is Beatrix Kiddo, fucking Uma Thurman in her yellow jumpsuit, occupying the left third of the screen. So, would you say this is your favorite movie? I know that's a tough question. I don't like being asked it, but like,
no,
gun to your head, is this your favorite movie?
It's not my favorite movie. It was probably my favorite movie for like 6 years or something like that. Something close to that. It's since been overtaken by 20th Century Women, which is a whole other can of worms that we'll have to cover sometime. I mean, yeah, I remember you, because our origin story with this, I don't know when you watched it, but the first time I watched it was we were like 14 years old, and we were like, let's show each other our favorite movies, and I pulled out Dirty Dancing.
And I remember being like, oh, okay, yeah.
Which, it's still one of my favorite movies, but... And then you were like, okay, I'm gonna put on Kill Bill. And I had the exact same reaction you did to Dirty Dancing. I was like, oh, wow, this is really something. Which, like, I remember watching it for the first time with you, and I did not enjoy it. And then I think I rewatched it again, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, something clicked in my brain that I was like, oh my god. But
it was very much like when you show someone a movie and you're not watching the movie, you're watching them watch the movie. Like, I feel like that was my experience with that. I know last week I talked a lot about, with Scott Pilgrim, the like pirating movies from Tumblr, from Tumblr post called like Movies for Cool People. And this was like totally like, I think all of my first experiences with Quentin Tarantino movies were like, I watched them like in mirror reverse, so the thing didn't get like flagged for piracy, like type thing. Like, I definitely like illegally downloaded from like a sketchy, like, I don't know, there were like captions in like Swedish or something just to like, because that's the only available version. So
yeah, the audio sped up like just 0.5.
Yeah, like 5%. So everyone just sounds a little bit like Tom Nook. But yeah, I definitely like pirated it from Tumblr, and I was like, oh, this is badass girl boss. This is like the definition of like what a good movie is. And I think, I also would have labeled this as my favorite movie for like a good chunk of like 8th to maybe 11th grade, honestly. Yeah. Like, I was like, this is it. This is my favorite movie.
Yeah,
And again, I have since departed from that, and I feel like I have like a really complicated relationship with this movie now. And with just all Quentin Tarantino movies in
Yeah.
general, just because it's like it's tough. It's tough when you
I have a question. Is it a red flag that I have this on my wall? Yes or no?
I literally my first note is like, this is my male manipulator movie. I know I said it last week about Scott Pilgrim, but like truly this is I'm like, I love this movie and I'll kind of defend it almost to a point where like, oh, it's a little problematic.
Yeah.
But you're a lady, so I think no. But I think if you were a dude, then maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but like you're about to hook up with someone for the first time and you walk in, would you rather a Kill Bill poster or a Pulp Fiction? Because 10 out of 10 times I would prefer the Kill Bill.
Kill Bill.
The Pulp Fiction poster means nothing. The Pulp Fiction poster means that you like got it from the sale bin at Newberry Comics and like have made it's a 50-50 if you've seen it or not.
You're like, this is okay. Yeah, I'll let them know I have like taste or whatever. Like someone's given it like the tiniest thought in their brain. But you said, yeah, like when you first saw this movie, you're like, yeah, okay, this is badass, this is girl boss. And I think that's one of the reasons that I liked it so much, especially like as a young person. Because I think for me, it was one of those things like I definitely, because to me, this doesn't fall under the category of girl boss. Because like girl boss to me is like very ironic and sort of like, you know what I mean? But like this, I remember like watching this movie for the first time and being like, this is just so incredibly badass. Like, I just hadn't seen, like, any, like, not even, like, a woman, like, every woman in this movie, like, is portrayed, like, just such a motherfucker. Especially it's amazing.
Part one, especially with the badassery in the women category. And I just think it was my first experience watching women be badass in a way that wasn't, like, a joke or over-sexualized, which we can get into it. They're certainly being sexualized, but in a way that wasn't blatantly like, you know, like Scarlett Johansson in Avengers, where she's like pussy slamming people to the ground in a tight latex catsuit. Like, come on, like, okay, you can say that's badass, but it's at the end of the day, it just like as a young woman did not make me feel great about it. Yeah. Whereas this, I was like, this is something I can feel good about. Like, you know, I guess empowered is the word. It's very empowering. But again, as I've grown up, it's like certainly my relationship with that has evolved because I no longer find this movie empowering.
This movie though, it does like. One thing that I made a note of, I was like, this, like, not even like reverse Bechdel test, but like obviously this is the Bechdel test. But I'm like, I don't think there's a conversation like one conversation between two women where they talk about a man at all.
Bill, I think.
Do they talk about Bill though? Like Bill is hanging in the air, but I don't think anyone ever has a conversation about Bill except for Beatrix and Hattori Hanzo.
Yeah, I guess maybe if you take it one step back of like the context of every conversation is about Bill, of like, yeah, like it's looming in the air and it's the sort of driving factor, but I guess explicitly being mentioned, probably not.
Yeah.
And you said, I mean, we both have called her Beatrix at this point. Just at the top, obviously this podcast is not spoiler free. We talk about movies in their full glory, but also I definitely consider volume 1 and 2 to be, it's one movie, and it was intended to be released as one movie, which is fucking crazy. Fucking crazy that they thought that they could get all that footage they had from 1 and 2 down to, reasonable film, and so they split it into 2, which was for the best, obviously, but we're not going to talk about sort of the plot or what happens, but we are going to use, information that is revealed in the second part of this movie to sort of inform the discussion. Like, her name reveal, I guess, is the big one. They call her the bride in this, and then it's a big reveal in part 2 that her name is Beatrix Kiddo. I'm just gonna call her Beatrix, or the bride, or Uma Thurman, or whatever. But
But do we want?
I don't know if anybody has seen part 1 without part 2. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they are just an entity that exists together, and I believe anyone who has seen this movie has seen both of them. So just. I don't know, just to address that at the top. But yeah, do we want to get into a little bit of a...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a recap?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's pretty, like, we could really dumb it down for this one. Essentially what happens is, like, you meet sort of Beatrix Kiddo after... I mean, kind of, like, from the top, like, in the hospital. You get a bit of a forward, like, she's been, like... she's shot in the head. By, like, this gang of assassins that she worked with. You find her... 4 years later, in a hospital, she wakes up from a coma, and then basically, like, goes on a killing spree? Not killing spree, but, like, a revenge,
Rampage.
Rampage, yeah. Basically. Which involves, like, Vivica Fox, and Lucy Liu, and a couple of other people in between.
Yeah, the thing about this is like tough because in very Quentin Tarantino style, everything's out of order. So you get your story in these sort of like vignette snippets, and it's kind of up to you to contextually rearrange them to get the whole story. So
exactly.
and it's with this and part two, and I would say that this is a little more linear than say like Pulp Fiction, which was really his first like I'm gonna tell it backwards and out of order. But he does do it a little bit again with this one, where it's like certain things are happening not when they actually happen. I don't know.
Exactly.
So telling a linear recap is kind of tough with this.
Exactly, which is why I'm not going into the whole.
Yeah, but basically Uma Thurman plays the bride, which we then later find out her name's Beatrix Kiddo, and she makes this list of all the people who are part of this assassin squad that she used to be a part of that basically turned on her and wronged her, and she makes the list and she's like, I'm gonna go through the list, I'm just gonna kill each one of them. And so we get her killing of the first two on the list in this film, which is
Vernita Green and
Oren. But do you remember their snake names?
Copperhead and Cottonmouth. I think
yeah.
Vernita Green was Copperhead, and then Oren is Cottonmouth, and then Beatrix
the bride
Kiddo
is Black Mamba, which is very cool.
Yeah, that's so sick.
And then obviously her goal at the end is to kill Bill.
Yeah.
Which is the name of the movie.
Yeah, I was like, I hope everyone got that.
Yeah. Like, he is basically kind of the leader of this gang that she used to be a part of, and he's obviously at the core of how she has been wronged. And we kind of get a little snippet of her saying, like, the baby is yours right before she gets shot.
Yeah, she was pregnant.
Yeah, she was pregnant, and it's implied that it's on her wedding day, which is why they call her the bride for most of this. And then, yeah, in just a grueling and like hard to watch scene, I think the first 20-minute sequence of this movie of her getting shot in the head, finding out she's lost her baby, realizing that she's been raped over and over while she's been in a coma, like then escaping the hospital. It's just like, it's so much visceral violence.
It's a lot.
And just, it's so upsetting. It's deeply upsetting to watch.
Yeah, no, most certainly. Like, especially, it's very much like the whole, like, I don't know, like, revenge, movies, like, sort of, especially for women, I feel like take on that whole thing of, like, there's always a rape, you know what I mean? Which, like, for this,
it's a rape revenge movie.
Yeah, it's like, and, like, so many of them, like, don't need that. No movie ever needs that. But especially this one, you know what I mean? I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It just sucks that, like, this is a really good movie, and, like, that puts, like, the worst taste in your mouth.
Yeah, I am definitely the president of the We Never Need to See On-Screen Rape in Movies for Any Reason committee. Like, I just think... not that there's any tasteful way to ever do that, but it can be implied. Yeah. It can be. And this movie does a little bit of implication. Basically, it's implied that this male nurse has
been selling
sort of pimped her out. Yeah, and we never, and that he probably also has been assaulting her, and so we get sort of the beginning of a transaction, and then she's awake the whole time, so she knows, and then she sort of sweeps in and kills him. She bites off his tongue or something,
I don't know.
Which is just
it's a lot.
So much. It's just very Tarantino. How much blood can we add? But then she gets the nurse as well, and sort of. So we never do explicitly see, but it's like so implied, and I don't know how they could have re-navigated that situation. So it just like wouldn't be so icky, but I guess we kind of have to see it to sort of get, I don't know, her like, and now you're angry with her, and like you're angry with her for so many reasons, but like every person who wrongs her throughout, you just like, I don't know, I always really felt for her as a character, and just I guess I would say as a woman, but I'm sure anyone who watches this movie, like I watched this movie with 4 dudes. And they all were, like, cringing and wincing at so many parts during this. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's just, like, human reaction, like...
No, most definitely. Yeah, no, that whole thing is hard to watch. Visually, for me, though, I think the hardest part in this movie is in that hospital scene. When she slashes Buck's Achilles heel.
Oh, I kind of like that.
Though. I mean, obviously, like, I like it, but, like, that's one of those things, do you ever, like hear about something or, like, see something and, like, you feel it, too? That's one of those for me that, like, I physically, like, I have to look away when that scene comes because it just makes my entire body is so tense for, like, the next 10 minutes at the very least. I have to relax every muscle manually.
Get out like a massage gun, just like decompress. Do some like bath salts. Just, you know, it could be nice. So not to like glorify violence, but as we're talking about this, I want to know if you have a favorite kill, because there are so many good ones. So you get, you know, what Buck with the Achilles heel, which that one almost feels the best to me because he has maybe wronged her worse. Or maybe not worse, but just in a way that I was like, yeah, get him. But then there's also Vivica A. Fox with the knife right to the chest after she tries to shoot her in the cereal box, and then Lucy Liu with the slicing of the head. Does anyone else have kind of an epic death scene? I think those are kind of the big. Oh, Go-Go, yeah.
Yeah, the Go-Go one's
that
really
one with
good.
the blood from the eyes.
I don't know if I have a favorite death per se. I definitely have a favorite fight. But I guess,
and it has to be the Crazy 88s, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, see, it's so tough because like that one's so good, but like the final fight, like for me, I think one of the reasons like the final fight, it's between Oren and the bride. Like I think it's really elevated because like I guess just in the context of the movies, you can tell like there's so much respect that both of these women have for each other, and like they're like Beatrix is already like absolutely destroyed. Like her body is hanging on by a thread right now. And it's visually it's so beautifully done. It's in like this beautiful garden. It's snowing out. The blue lights. It's like visually amazing. So I think that one just gives me the most satisfaction to watch as a viewer. But obviously like the Crazy 88 fight is insane as well.
It's like it's the last third of the movie.
It's so entertaining, like, and honestly, to me, like, it's just really fun and really funny, specifically. Like, I noticed watching this one, and obviously, like, I definitely, like, saw it, like, the last couple of times, but, like, just really picked it up this time. Like, these guys are laying, like, dead, like, with their tongues out, like, just so silly goofy, like... It's just a good time, that fight scene.
Yeah, and like the sort of silly use of blood that Quentin Tarantino is so known for. Like what's the lawyer's name? Sophie, when Sophie gets her arm cut off and it's just like straight a fountain of just cornstarch and food dye. Like, and I mean, this movie is not realistic. And I'm not going to say it is. But I'm like, she gets her arm cut off and then she lays there bleeding out for what is in the movie probably 10 minutes of fighting. So let's say in reality closer to 20 or 30 minutes of fighting. And then this bitch is still alive at the end and conscious. She's alive and conscious. I'm like, if you get your arm cut off, your eyes are rolling back and your brain is shutting off to compartmentalize the pain. Like, absolutely not. And also, that's her arm. You would be dead in minutes. In minutes you would be dead. That was like the one detail that kind of bugged me the most. Also, it's like 88 guys, or like, you know, quote unquote 88, you know, fighters or whatever, coming at her, and they always just like come in groups of like 4 to 10. Yeah. And I'm just like, if all of you just pounced at once, like, yeah, a lot of you are still gonna die, but like it probably could have got the job done. Whereas like doing it in these like small little dance rounds, I'm like, oh no. I mean, obviously that allows her to win the fight, and like I do really like the stunt coordination and sort of the like fighting. It's really well done because even though she is getting attacked by 7 people at once, you kind of see their apprehension, like they know she's fucking good. Yeah. So like they're maybe not all gonna go for her at the same time.
Everyone's nervous.
Which yeah, they're like, oh shit. Also, she's just like in that fucking tracksuit. She just looks so good. I'd be like checking her out. I'm like, you can slice me like any day.
We've talked a lot about blonde people on this podcast, and never would I ever dye my hair for any reason except to be the bride for Halloween in that fucking tracksuit, dude.
I was like fully search history, yellow tracksuit, like velour, velvet tracksuit, but I'm like, no. I simply cannot just like walk out into public. I don't have the stature for it. I couldn't pull it off. I do not deserve to own that yellow tracksuit.
But hold on, back to the fights for a minute. The one fight that like makes me not like as impressive as, like, all the other fights are, obviously, like, she's fighting, like, 88 people and all that shit, and just, like, the O-Ren one is so good. But the first fight scene with Vernita Green is just so impressive because there's so much broken glass everywhere. I'm like, you would be way more caught up in this fight scene than any other fight scene.
Right, she gets slammed through a glass coffee table.
Like a bookshelf, a glass bookshelf is like slammed on top of her too.
Why does this bitch have so many glass furnishings in her home? Like, I'm like looking around, I'm like, yeah, maybe the window at best is glass around here. Like, I just don't own glass furniture. What? But I love, I dare to say it's my favorite because it really isn't, but I love when she reaches into the cereal box and gets the gun. Yeah. Beatrix dodges it and immediately she like bounces a knife off of her fucking foot and then just right to the chest. And there's just something like punctual and satisfying about that like sequence of actions that every time I watch this movie, I'm like, ooh, yes. Like the beats of it just feel so good. And she just like knife right to the heart. Not even a last breath to be had, just slumped down. I know a lot of people have talked about the prospect of there being a volume 3.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you think about it. Because, I mean, now that Maya Hawke is in the picture, like, obviously she's the fucking spitting image of Uma. Mm-hmm. And she's a pretty good actress, but it's like...
I think she
could do it, but I don't know if it needs to be done.
I was gonna say she could do it, but she shouldn't, and I don't think they should because I think that they should just leave this alone. Mm-hmm. It's perfect the way it is, and it has been like immortalized in its own way. And I really hate the sort of culture that a lot of cinema is going towards now of like remakes and redos and reboots, and it's just tired.
Exactly.
And I'd like to think that Quentin Tarantino also thinks it's tired, but also it would be a major cash grab. So whatever. And if they did it, I'd go fucking see it. Like I would go see it for sure. But I'd be annoyed.
See, because the entire like everyone's like not everyone, but like the whole idea of it is because there's that exchange with Beatrix and Nikki, who's Vernita's daughter. Being like, if you ever feel raw about it, like, come find me or whatever. So, like, the entire thing is like, oh, like, Beatrix is...
She can get her revenge. Yeah. Like, it'll be like a...
Reverse.
The cycle never ends.
But I'm like, who would you cast as her?
How old is she? Because this movie came out in 2003, and she's, 6 here?
Probably.
So she would be about in her, mid to late 20s now. I wonder if that actress is still doing stuff. I mean, it would be really cool to get the same girl. Like, that would be pretty badass. Cool.
For some reason, the first person that comes to mind is Amandla Stenberg.
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, I think she could really do it. Or like maybe if she's older, maybe like Zoe Kravitz.
Oh, shut up!
If you wanted to make her like a little bit older,
that'd be really good,
right? Mm-hmm. That could be really cool.
But at the same time, like watching this movie. I'm sitting there and watching that exchange with Beatrix and her, like, after she's just put a knife in her mother's heart and all that shit. I'm sitting there, I'm like, that little girl has no idea what's going on. There's not a thought behind those eyes right there. She has no clue. I was like, the thing, too, like, that popped out at me, I was like, she gives me Northwest vibes. Like...
Oh my
like, do you
God,
know what I'm saying? Like, Northwest has, like, very much her own specific, like, vibe, to me, at least. But I'm like, that kid has no idea what's going on. She will not be searching for revenge. She'll just be talking about it in therapy years later. Right,
yeah. I don't know. I feel like if somebody killed Jen in front of me when I was that young, I feel like I'd be pissed about it.
Just something about that kid. I don't know.
Yeah, a little emotionless behind the eyes, but like in a specific way that only a 4-year-old can be.
Exactly.
But my ultimate favorite sequence from this whole movie is the animated part.
It's great.
That is what got me about this movie. Like the first time I watched it, I didn't even know that something like this was possible to like mix different genres of filmmaking and like, oh, we're gonna tell this crucial part of the story but like flip it on its head, and oh, now it's anime, and you can do so much with like the way they portray violence, and that scene is like still very much stylistically the same, but it's like elevated because you can do anything with animation. And I just think the style is so like, it's a little bit of anime, but it still feels kind of American, and it kind of feels very hand-drawn and sketchy, and the movements are very jerky, and I am obsessed. This was like 95% of my personality for those like 4 years of my life was like this animated sequence from this movie.
It was just so smart. Like, that's one of the,
I'm obsessed.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm like, I will like tip my little hat to Quentin Tarantino, because I'm like, okay, that was pretty genius of you. It was just so well done.
That's like, that's like, I always feel problematic because I'm like, I like Quentin Tarantino movies.
I'll say it.
I like basically all of them, yeah, and I'll say it, and I like them, and I can recognize why it's problematic, and I think that's an important part of the conversation, but I don't think, it's like separating the art from the artist, but a little bit like, I can recognize that these are great movies, but I can also recognize the parts of them that are clearly informed by him being a creep and like a bad dude.
Yep.
But it's an important part of the conversation, but you don't have to dismiss that they're fucking brilliant films.
Oh, yeah.
He is, I like to get in my feels about like, fuck Quentin Tarantino, fuck anyone who likes, and then I watch this movie and I'm like, oh, he's the godfather of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's ever done it better.
Yeah. No, but I will say, like, one of the reasons, like, why his films are so good is Mary Ramos, who is his music supervisor and who curates and makes all of the soundtracks for these movies. I think she's done most of all of his movies. I don't know if she did Pulp Fiction, but I know she, like, pretty much from anything, like, Kill Bill, which is, like, 2003 onward, she's done. And she's just got an outstanding record, and that is for so many reasons. Like, the soundtracks are the things that make these movies, like, just like that one step higher for me, at least. I know you could probably say the same, but like, do you have a favorite song from this or sequence like that, like where the music genuinely just puts it absolutely over the top for you?
Two very specific ones come to mind. The sirens.
I was gonna
the recurring sirens throughout this whole, it's just, it hits so hard. And like, why is it like when I'm having a panic attack in Trader Joe's, I can hear brr, brr, brr. Like, it's very like Hans Zimmer in Inception, the like brr,
the
like
whirring.
Just the clever use of like, it's not even music, it's just like an effect, but it's just like every time it's just like, ooh, it gives me spine tingles. But I would say the most iconic that like I think just needs to be talked about and recognized is when what's her name? Neil Young's wife, the blonde in the Moschino coat with the eye patch. Yeah. When she's walking through the hospital and whistling.
Yeah.
And that sort of dream sequence, like, intro, that's, like, the first scene in this movie where I think the music, like, it's hitting, and it's gonna continue to hit, and you're like, oh, like, this is smart, and the people who are making this know what the fuck they're doing. And I cannot even fathom the number of GIF sets on Tumblr and like snippets on Twitter that I've had to watch over the years of like that specific sequence of her whistling walking down the hospital hallway. But it's just iconic. It's so iconic.
I know all the nurses in that hospital ward were sitting there like, can you shut the fuck up? But no,
somebody's like getting their dialysis treatment and they're like, what? Like,
she's so loud. No, you're so right. Like, obviously, it is the most iconic one. For me, I feel like every time I watch this, it changes, honestly. Like, the one that I really liked this time around is just this, and it's not on the soundtrack, but, and I don't know if it was scored or whatever, or what it is, but, there's just this lovely, it's almost like, it's kind of like a choirish sort of thing, playing behind that sequence where Beatrix is just looking at all the Hattori Hanzo swords that he's got. And I'm like, that one like really stood out to me this time. But like overall, the one that just gets my blood pumping a little bit is like when they're in like, what is it? The House of the Blue Lotus or some shit like that. Is that what it's called? And she's just got
that band. The
Not
5, 6, 7, 8.
I do love them. They're a step above the rest. But no, it's once she's got Sophie's arm like propped up against the wood panel, and she's just shouted like, "Oh, Ren, get your ass out here," sort of thing. And it's just this like, I don't even know what to call it. This It's not like a symphony. I don't know what. Just go fucking listen to it. Someone go watch the clip, because I'm not going to be able to tell you what it sounds like, in an adequate manner. But it's one of those ones that makes me be like, holy shit. Like, this is so badass. Everyone's running out of the fucking, the club. Beatrix has got this slow walk, like, walking up to go fight Oren and all that shit.
Dragging the sword on the ground behind her, like, yes!
You see the shoes.
Yeah, that gets me
the shoes that say
fired up.
Fuck you on the bottom. It's iconic.
But yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the music supervisor, because I honestly didn't even really know, like, who she was, or that she was the... I mean, it makes sense that Quentin Tarantino would use the same person for all his movies, because it's very much, like, stylistically the same. But I just know that he directed Sin City along with 2 other directors, and there's this whole story about how he got one of them to do, like, some sort of musical contribution or whatever for this, like, a supervisor, like a, you know, what is it called when you just give your opinion? I don't know. But he got one of them, but like legally you have to pay people, so he paid them $1 and then they paid him $1 to work on Sin City. So it was like this whole funny, like, haha, we paid each other $1 to be on each other's movie staffs or whatever. But I know that at the beginning of this, the Reza gets a whole ass credit thing, and he's from Wu-Tang Clan, and I was looking into this because I was like...
I think he's got a song on the soundtrack. He doesn't play, like, in the actual movie, but, like, I think it's called... Hold on, because I have the actual soundtrack. It's called, like, Ode to Oren or some shit like that.
Because I was looking into it, because I was like, wow, this doesn't give me Wu-Tang vibes, but, like, I guess he did a way more on part 2, that he did way more, like, music supervision, or, like, you know, consulting. That was the word I was looking for. Consulting. He did a lot more consulting on part 2, but they just gave him the title credit here because it was intended to just be one film. But it would make way more sense to put him as a title credit on the second movie.
Yeah, no. He's got this song, Ode to Oren Ishii, on the actual soundtrack. But yeah, it doesn't actually play in the movie or anything like that. But that's really interesting that he did a lot of work on it. I know... The person that does the fucking score for all of Tarantino's stuff did a lot of work. I mean, obviously did a lot of work on this, but, like, I don't know. It's just such a good balance to me, like, score versus soundtrack that Tarantino has on these. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you his name because I'm going to butcher it. But someone go fucking look up the guy that does the score for this. Because I know how it sounds in my head, but I'm not going to embarrass myself like that for you all to hear on this podcast. You're gonna have to pay me to do that.
It could be worse than me saying my own name. Yeah, it could be worse than me trying to introduce myself at the beginning of this podcast, honestly.
Ennio Morricone or something like that? I don't fucking know. But I've butchered too many names on this. Someone told me how to say Ralph Fiennes' name right after I pronounced it. So
what did we call? We called him like Ralph Phineas or something.
I was like,
I felt embarrassed about that one.
Yeah, I was like, ooh. I was like, maybe I should not do a podcast.
I will say, I do love when people come to correct us, though, because, like, please do it. Please do it. If we get a fact wrong, because, like, somebody came into our DMs and was like, oh, yeah, I've actually read the Decameron and hear a bunch of fun facts about how it relates to the Little Hours. And I was like, hell yeah, come through. So, like, come through with your fun facts. And I haven't plugged lately, but, like, please continue to come through with your movie suggestions because we love to hear them. But yeah, please come through if we pronounce something wrong, if we get a fact wrong. I don't think anyone's coming to this podcast for factual information, and we do not cite sources here.
Nope.
Because this is not formal enough for that. I will say, though, I am going to put in the description below, which, like, we don't really need to get too much into this conversation because everyone's aware of it, but the whole, like, Harvey Weinstein, everyone knows about, you know, what he's done. It kind of has been unveiled the past few years, but I am going to put a link in the description below to the New York Times article, the interview that originally came out in 2018. I think it's called This Is Why Uma Thurman is Angry. And I just remember reading it when it came out, and I think I revisit it almost every time I watch this movie just to, like, re-ground myself in, like, what happened. But it's super informative. It's very upsetting. But the big part of it that I find so interesting is the car accident situation.
Yeah, I remember reading
where
that.
there's film. You can watch it.
It's not
you can
this
watch
film.
the footage of the car accident.
Second film.
It's in the second one. Yeah, but I mean, obviously a lot of the problems started with this, and it was all filmed at the same time. But I'll link it below. If you haven't read it, it's very well done, and it's very, like, honest from her, and I don't know. I just think it's an important part of the experience of this movie is also, like, recognizing that side of it as well. And, like, fuck Harvey Weinstein and probably fuck Quentin Tarantino, too. But anyways, as far as citing facts, that is the fact that I will cite, and I encourage anyone who enjoys this movie to go read that article if you haven't. But
can I just say that one of my favorite, back to, like, a very, like, different topic. One of my favorite things about this movie is the inconsistent length of Uma Thurman's hair throughout the entire thing. Have you noticed?
Her bangs.
It just goes back and forth. Every other frame.
Yeah,
she's chopped, or then she has, like, a regular, like, just, like, plain Jane, like, haircut, and then she's got, like, that chop the next scene. I'm like, I don't know when, like, that's, like, the actual timeline of this is not confusing until, like, you start to see, like, the haircuts that don't match up, and I'm like, wait, am I missing something? When did this take place?
So, I want for my senior thesis project to be rearranging this movie according to Uma Thurman's hair length.
Please.
Because it would be entirely...
It'd be a whole different film.
That would be... Jesus. Yeah, that's so funny. I always recognize that, like, her hair looks so fucking crisp right when she goes into the club to, like, fuck shit up, but it just looks like it is styled, it is clean, because she's kind of fucked up for most of this movie. She's, like, sweaty and in the hospital, or, like, killing people and fighting, but just the way her hair looks in that one scene where she's, like, you know, looks amazing and being a badass, I'm like, oh, your hair looks fucking tight right now. Like, and that's a haircut, too, that, like, you have to be Uma Thurman level hot to pull off sort of, like, the baby bangs and then the, like, awkward shoulder length. Like, no, that is not working for anyone but you.
She looks so good in this movie.
All right, so we're here with my lovely mother, Jen, for another interim segment of Chocolate or Vanilla, a game of her invention where she just says two things and we say which one we like better. And is there a theme this week?
There is a theme. It's Quentin Tarantino movies and things.
Great, perfect, amazing.
So, chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, strawberry?
Chocolate. I was thinking about switching it up, but I'm just, like, tried and true.
Yeah, that's fair. At this point, you can't. I'm gonna stick with vanilla this week.
All right, I'm gonna go chocolate. To start off, not related to Tarantino, but in honor of Danny, would you want to watch a movie in IMAX or with an X?
Last week, I don't know if anyone picked up on this, but, like, Danny, our guest from last week, said that he saw something in IMAX, and Jen said, you saw it with your ex? And it was a movie that came out in, like, 2009, and he was like, no, I was in 3rd grade. I did not see it with an ex. And that just fucking killed me. Always in IMAX. I'm not really here for this, like, newfangled, like, 4D, like, we're gonna spit on you kind of thing that a lot of movie theaters have been doing. But, like, I'm here for, I love it, like science museums when they have IMAX and they do, like, like, immersive with the jellyfish IMAX science movies. I always thought those were really fun, so I'll go IMAX.
Yeah, no, IMAX for sure, because I don't think I'd ever want to be in a situation with seeing a movie with an X.
Oh, yeah, definitely IMAX. This whole week, though, I would just, like, laugh to myself. And I'm like, why did I think that was so funny? Like, I don't know. All right, Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown?
I've actually never seen Jackie Brown. I think it's one of the few Tarantinos that I haven't seen. And I'm almost, like, holding out on it because I'm like, oh, it's, like, that kind of that last, golden nugget that I still just, like, haven't gotten around to. And I'm sure I'll really like it, but I've got to go with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction. I'm in the same boat as you, Dara. I haven't seen it, but it's, like, streaming somewhere, like, right now, and I'm like, should I?
Oh, maybe we should.
My God. But
yeah, I'm with you guys. I'll go Pulp Fiction. I have not seen Jackie Brown either, and I know it's, like, super popular. Leo or Brad?
Oh, Brad Pitt. I don't know. Leo's fine, but, like, as of late, it's just been kind of, I'm not going to say one note, but, like, especially in that movie, as far as I know, there was a lot of contention over, like, who should get the nomination, because their screen time was pretty split, and, like, I thought Brad Pitt's performance had a little bit of an upper.
Yeah. Just a little zestier. No, I totally agree with you there. Between him and, if we're talking in that movie specifically, definitely Brad.
Yeah, I think same thing in general. I think they're both super funny, but I'll go with Brad. I think did he win for that? I think he won supporting
Yeah, I
actor.
think
Right?
he won supporting,
Yeah.
I believe.
Right. So speaking of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but it was just like, it was like good and fine, whereas like, Reservoir Dogs is like
It's Reservoir
elite.
Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. They're Reservoir Dogs for me as well.
I am gonna have to go with Once Upon a Time because I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs.
That makes sense to me though, because you like aren't really here for gratuitous amounts of violence, and that's like most of that movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like people getting shot in the chest and bleeding out for hours and hours.
Sounds great. That sounds great.
Yeah, right up your alley.
Samuel L. Jackson or John Travolta?
Samuel L. Jackson. I love John Travolta, and I will excuse any questionable things he ever done. Like, he's kind of a weird guy, but I just love him. But Samuel L. Jackson, especially in Pulp Fiction, like the line delivery from him is so iconic, and I really think it's what made that movie like really take off and so like well loved. It's just like so iconic.
Yeah, as much as I want to choose John Travolta, not for his performance in anything Tarantino, but as Edna Turnblad in Hairspray, I just can't do that to Sam. So I'm definitely going to go with Sam as well.
All right, I'm going to go against you guys and go with John Travolta.
Someone had to do it. I'm glad.
Couldn't be a sweep. This week, though, on like TNT or something, there was this movie Broken Arrow from the late 90s. Did you guys ever see that one where Christian Slater and Samantha Mathis get stuck down in a mine and John Travolta's like this crazy terrorist and he just does this really good job on that movie. He's just like psycho. So good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Inglourious Bastards or Hateful Eight?
Inglourious Basterds. Hateful Eight was way too fucking long, and they've like at this point they've split it into like hour-long episodes, like, and I'm just like, that's not a movie then. Just make a miniseries. Like, nobody wants to watch a 5-hour movie. I'm sorry. Like, even if it's really great, just commit to it and make a fucking miniseries. Yeah. And I love Inglourious Basterds, so I'll pick that one.
Yeah, Inglourious Basterds is a great movie. I physically could not get through more than 40 minutes of The Hateful Eight because it was just demanding for me as a viewer. Just to I don't even know, I hated it from what I saw, so of course it's gonna be Inglourious Basterds. That's a good movie.
I would
and Brad Pitt in that one too. Don't get me started.
Yeah, I would say same. I think Inglourious Basterds might be my favorite Tarantino.
That's a solid choice.
Uma Thurman or Lucy Liu?
Oh, you said Uma Thurman, and I'm like, no way I pick anything else. But Lucy Liu is such a badass too. I gotta go with Uma though.
Yeah, it's Uma.
Yeah, same. It's Uma. Django Unchained or Grindhouse?
I'll go with Django. I really liked that one.
Yeah, I think I just know Django better, so Django.
Okay, same. Yeah, I would say same. And Steve Buscemi or Harvey Keitel?
Steve Buscemi. Yeah. I love Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
If you said Uma Thurman or Steve Buscemi, I would say Steve Buscemi. I would pick Steve Buscemi over almost anyone.
That'd be the right choice.
If we said Henry or Steve Buscemi, you would...
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to join Dara for Steve Buscemi on this one.
I'm sorry, Henry did not put on firefighter gear and run to 9/11 to be a volunteer firefighter. You know who did? Steve Buscemi.
How do you know that?
Because everyone knows that about Steve Buscemi.
Now I do.
I was gonna say, do they?
Yeah, I'll go with Steve Buscemi also, just for his Monsters Inc.
Yes, as Randall.
Yeah. All right, here are the three choices.
Okay.
So Pam Grier, Diane Kruger, or Bridget Fonda?
Diane Kruger.
Hold on. Say it back again one more time.
Pam Grier, Diane Kruger, or Bridget Fonda?
None of these names mean anything to me.
Yeah, so Pam Grier was Jackie Brown.
Okay.
Diane Kruger was in Inglourious Basterds, and she's from National Treasure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
That's why.
yes.
That's why
Okay,
I picked her.
Okay, yeah.
She's the bitch from National Treasure.
Yes. I know her.
And Bridget Fonda, I think, was also in Inglourious Bastards. I don't know which one she was in, but she was in Single White Female. She's Henry Fonda's daughter.
I think I'm gonna go Pam Kruger. Yeah.
Okay, me too. Diane Kruger.
That's you
Nice.
combined two names, Pam Grier
Wait, fuck.
and Diane Kruger, and you said Pam Kruger. No, this is a new
I was
answer.
trying to let it slide.
Pam Kruger.
Yeah, nothing stuck in my brain for that one. I was like, oh god.
Sorry.
You picked that's like 3 C tier like actresses who are all just like kind of vaguely look the same.
I know. I was really thinking about just like choosing a name for no reason, just so I didn't have to say that I have no idea who any of these people are.
Pam Fonda, Diane Grier, Freddy Krueger.
I'll pick Diane Kruger too. But there is a really good movie with Bridget Fonda, and she is a waitress who wins like a lottery ticket situation with Nicolas Cage. It's really good. It's really good. Good movie. Rose.
Yeah, you know who else was in a movie with Nicolas Cage?
Diane Kruger.
Diane Kruger, and it's called National Treasure.
Well, that's why I picked her.
It's the greatest film ever made, National Treasure.
True that. Last one. So Kill Bill 1, Kill Bill 2, or Kill Bill 3?
There's no Kill Bill 3.
I think there is.
There's not.
No.
All right, Kill Bill 1 or Kill Bill 2?
You're speaking to two tried and true Kill Bill stans. They're thinking about making a 3, or it's been like rumored, but there's no Kill Bill 3 because volumes 1 and 2 were just filmed at the same time because it was meant to be one movie, and then they just split it into 2, like they should have done with Hateful Eight as like episodes. But I don't know if it's controversial of me to say that I like the second one. I don't even know if I could pick because it's just like one entity to me, but I think maybe I like the second one better because it's more like everything is coming to fruition and it's more like the satisfying payoff of like the completion of the story, I guess.
I think that's a really hot take because I feel like most people would say 1, honestly. Which I think for me today, I'm gonna say 1 just because, Dara, I know you watch these pretty much back to back. But I have not had a minute to go and watch 2, which I will definitely be doing sometime this week. But I'm just ripping right off from volume 1.
From 1,
so.
the high of 1.
Exactly. That's where I'm at right now, so that's what I'm gonna pick.
But it truly, to me, is one movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one movie to me. But anyways.
Yeah, I'll go.
Anyways, Jen, there's no Kill Bill
I'll go
3.
with Kill Bill 3. I haven't seen any of them.
Outstanding.
Oh, well, thank you for that little Quentin Tarantino themed chocolate or vanilla. I always say I'm going to post them and then I forget most of the time, but maybe I will. So keep your eyes peeled on our Instagram and I'll try to remember to post them so y'all can vote for what your favorite Tarantino things are. And as always, Jen, thank you so much for being on the show.
I love you guys. Have an awesome day.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Can we also talk about one? I don't know if, I mean, actually, probably I watched this before I ever watched Kill Bill, is the influence that Kill Bill had in the Lady Gaga and Beyonce telephone music video.
Yes.
Because that was entirely informed by this movie and just one of the reasons why it's
absolutely.
so fucking iconic and just outstanding. But I definitely...
one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, that was probably my actual first brush with Kill Bill before actually watching Kill Bill.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I can definitively say one way or another, but I do remember, like, that was one of the doors that opened to, like, referential, like, that you can be referential without, like, copy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I understood that they weren't copying, that they were doing, like, a bit, right? That they were doing, like, not quite a parody, but, like, we're, like, doing a referential, elevated music video version of this, iconic piece of... I think that is one of the first times that I kind of realized that was a thing that people do, and that it can be done so, like, well. And that if you're in the know and you know both sides of it, that it, like...
It so elevates
the experience... Yes, the experience of being in on the joke or like the, sort of insight is like, oh, so gratifying.
Exactly. Entirely.
Especially when you're like objectively not that smart. Like me, I'm like, haha, I get it! Yes, I know that one!
Yeah,
It's like when you know a piece of trivia, I'm like, yes, I knew that!
Yeah, this is like last week when we were talking about how Edgar Wright's like bashing you over the head.
yeah, and I'm like, I'm so smart. I understand cinematography.
Yeah, same idea. Exact same idea.
I will say a piece that I kind of got this time around was, so I watched 1 and 2 back to back, which
As you
is
have,
just
that
like
you
kind
have
of
to.
yeah. As soon as volume 1 ends, I'm on such a high of how much I love this movie that I have to I cannot rest until I finish volume 2. Like
Yeah.
they just go together so well.
Like
And
you're like
this
laying
time
in
around,
bed,
I
like
felt,
unable to sleep. You're like, fuck! Just pull up HBO
Yeah.
Max.
right, my blood pressure is doubled, and I'm like, I need to.
I need more Uma.
But, so this time around, I felt quite cheeky with myself for recognizing that obviously everyone it's very clear that volume 1 is a kung fu movie and volume 2 is a western,
Yeah.
right? So this is very much referential to those 1970s kind of hokey kung fu movies, which is why a lot of the fight sequence and people laying with X's on their eyes
Yeah.
and their tongue sticking out is very fun and referential to that sort of style of movies. And then volume 2 is very old western, also kind of hokey, making fun of that. But I felt very clever because volume 1 ends like a western and volume 2 ends like a kung fu movie. And I was like, oh, they did a little flip-flop. Oh, because this one ends with her riding off into the sunset, right? Which is the quintessential western ending. And then volume 2 ends with her fight with Bill, which is very it's kind of similar to the O-Ren battle, actually, where it's we have so much respect that we're going to monologue through this whole thing and only swipe at each other
Once.
in between. Once in convention, yeah, right. So it was very that sort of 1970s kung fu final battle,
Oh, yeah.
the coming together of. So yeah, I felt quite pleased with myself that I recognized. I'm like, oh, Quentin, I see what you did there.
I watch
I
movies.
see what you did. A little flip flop. You did a little flip flop on us, huh?
Yeah, that's one of those things too. Whenever I watch this movie, I always wish that it made me want to watch any sort of samurai movies. I don't think it ever has.
It doesn't.
Because it's so good on its own. I'm like, why would I go, mind you, I probably should, ask someone that, likes movies and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I've watched, a Bruce Lee movie, or some shit like that. But,
well, I'm I get it. I'm I think through understanding big cultural beats of parts of older movies that have been influencing stuff now, I'm I get what they're doing, so I don't need to go watch a movie that I don't care about. Maybe that makes me a bad viewer. Same thing with westerns. I've never fucking seen a western.
Nothing in my
I've never
body
seen a spaghetti western.
Nothing in my body
No.
compels me to ever go and do that.
What is it? Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid?
Yeah.
I had a professor the other day ask if anyone had seen that, and obviously we're a group of 20-year-olds. We were
Fucking
no. And he's like, oh, what, none of you are movie people? And I'm like, well, I wouldn't dare to call myself a movie person, but I'm just because I haven't seen this old Western film from fucking 1943 shouldn't discredit me. But then again, I'm I love Shrek too, so maybe I should be discredited.
No, that gives you more credit. There's more validity to you because of that. This movie, definitely gives me just about everything that I need, honestly. But one thing that I kind of had this watch around was, I want to know more about, Bill. Which, obviously, they leave him as, a mysterious figure for, But
even at the end of it, you still
get
don't,
a lot. And
he's still very mysterious.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is, because it's mostly came from, that conversation she has with, Hattori Hanzo or whatever, when she's like, no, you're making me a blade because your little fucking prodigy fucked up my life. And she didn't even have to say that much, because she basically was just yeah, the reason I need a sword is because of Bill. And I'm like, okay, if he has that much of a reputation to, that his old master will come out of retirement to make something to kill him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like,
and the same thing.
I just need to know more.
I want to know the same thing in part 2 of when he gets her a spot to be trained by that guy. Yeah, what kind of pull does he have that he can bring people out of retirement to do him favors? Because this is clearly a recurring.
But, how
thing.
bad of a person?
Yeah, maybe we
because maybe
we don't need the.
Obviously, they have, like, a group of assassins and everything like that, but, like, how high profile were these people? And, like, how much fucked shit did they all do? Like, we forget that, like, obviously Beatrix is the main protagonist in this, but, like, you forget, like, she was probably, like, a really shitty person in wrestling.
Yeah.
She did kill a lot of people.
Well, and that's, like, we get in that little animated sequence about O-Ren that, like, she, you know, starts really young with that sort of revenge rampage that she has, and then she, you know, is an assassin, and then they're, like, by the time she was, like, 18, she was, like, the #1 assassin in all of, you know, Japan or whatever, which is, like, yeah, so she had, like, fully had a assassin career before, you know, getting in with Bill. And, like, what was all that about, you know? Like, she was probably doing some crazy shit then, too. So, yeah, every character in this movie, I want to know more about.
Okay.
Go-Go?
Yeah, God. But
give me the Go-Go biopic.
Yeah, that's the spin-off I want. Not Kill Bill 3. Give me Go-Go's story. But you asked me earlier if I had a favorite kill in this movie, and I didn't have an answer for you. I have an answer for you now. Probably when O-Ren goes and chops off that guy's head in the middle of their big meeting. Like, it's not a crazy kill or anything like that, but it's just one of those ones that I just like it. Like, that's
I just
it's
like
just
it.
So funny, and like it's just a great scene in general.
Yes. And I love the way that she, like, hops up on the table and, like, penguin
like
waddles. She's like, yeah, she, like, all the way over. Yeah, I want, like, you know, like, the Mr. Krabs noise, the, like, I want that, like, over her, and then she just slices his head. But it's funny to me that it's this whole thing about, she's like, I don't want anyone to bring up my race, that I'm, you know, that I'm American, or that I'm, you know, half Japanese, half Chinese. And then she immediately, like, the minute Beatrix walks up, she's like, white girl wants to play with samurai swords. I'm like, bitch, isn't that your whole thing? Is that you don't want to address, like, you don't want anyone to address that you're American? Like, I don't know, I just thought that kind of caught me this time around. I'm like, that's a little hypocritical of you,
Double
O-Ren.
standard.
Yeah. But I have kind of grappled with if I think that this is, like, a little culturally appropriative, and, like, I've kind of gone back and forth on how I feel about it, because it's, like, a movie made by a white guy starring a white lady that, like, focuses basically entirely on, like Japanese samurai and, like, fighting culture, which is, like, I don't know how I feel about how that sits right with me, but I don't think they're ever doing it in a way that's, like, disrespectful, and I do think it is more referential to those, like, kung fu movies than anything, so that's why I maybe don't have as big of a problem with it as I would if it did feel, like, in bad taste, I guess. Like, it feels like it's very respectful and honoring it. Obviously, you know, when white people make movies, there's usually something fucked going on, so, like,
Yep.
But, like, okay, I hate to talk about the foot fetish in the room, but I think it simply must be addressed.
We can't talk about a Quentin Tarantino movie without talking about it.
And this is the foot
You
movie.
think?
The wiggle your big toe scene? This is the gratuitous sweeping foot shot movie. I will die on
They
that.
did,
though.
I mean,
this is the foot
they
movie.
do have that in the freaking, what is it? When the 5, 6, 7, 8s are playing. Just all feet.
No shoes.
All feet.
No shoes. That's the only drinking game you need for this movie is, like, take a shot every time you see a woman's feet and you are plastered. Like, 20 minutes in, you are plastered.
Is that why you think he wanted this movie? He's like, it's in Japan because people are taking their fucking shoes off.
Because that was, like, the seed that planted. No, honestly, every time I watch this movie, I feel more and more like it's less of a creative masterpiece, and it's more just like Quentin Tarantino ran out of foot videos on Pornhub, and he was like, well, I gotta make my own now. He's like, yeah, this really specific, like, kink that I have, specifically for Uma Thurman's feet. Can someone give me a couple tens of millions of dollars to just make that happen for myself?
It's been 10 years.
It feels so...
He's like, it's been 10 years since I've seen Uma's feet. It's time.
Like, this was an excuse for him to film Uma Thurman's feet. And the whole thing just feels very, like, he's jerking off in the corner. Like, I'm like, he was masturbating the whole time this was being shot, because it's like her, like, fighting in that way. I'm sure he was just getting off to that, and just, like, even what makes my skin crawl a little bit is at the end of this movie, the credit sequence that says based on the character of the bride created by Q plus U. Oh, I hate it.
Why'd you do it
hated
like that? Why did you have to do it like that?
It's like you're carving your initials onto a tree and you're in 6th grade. Like, oh, I hate it. And I definitely, again, the article I'm going to post talks a lot about how she felt like she was a genuine creative contributor in this movie until they filmed that car sequence, and then they completely boxed her out and they no longer let her like contribute her ideas or anything. And like I don't know, it's just so sad to think that she once had like that she felt important about the story that was being told.
Was
that she
important.
got to be a part in. Well, yeah, but then they kind of just were like, oh, okay, you're not playing by our rules anymore. It's over for you. Yeah.
No. It is fucking sad.
Yeah, this movie feels so male gazy to me though. It's like I go through a cycle of like, this is, within me there are 2 wolves, right? And it's the one that like loves to hate this movie, and it's the one that hates to love this movie. And it's like, the cycle is like, you watch it for the first time when you're 14, and it's like, this is a girl boss movie, that this is a badass girl boss, I feel empowered. And then you go through like, this is gross and male gazy, and Quentin Tarantino just needed something to be his meat too, so he made this film, and it like feels, I'm just a third party in this, like this was clearly just for him. But then I'm like, let's circle back around and let's reclaim it, right? I'm like, let me reclaim this movie as something that I like, and that I'm like, no, this is Uma Thurman telling her badass story, and if we level the playing field, I can still respect it as a girl boss badass. I don't know. I'm trying to edge myself more into that third phase of loving this movie again, because I just can't help but being like, wiggle your big toe for 45 minutes.
It's a lot.
It didn't need to be like that.
It made me really upset watching it this time around, sitting there looking at her feet and being like, he made her shave her little toe hairs. I was like, wow. Could you imagine being Uma Thurman and being like, I can't believe I had to fucking do this?
Well, somebody else was doing it for her. Quentin was doing it. He's like, don't worry, babe, I got it. Let me just shave your big toe. Oh my God.
Pissed. Yeah, I'm just gonna cover up the little writing on the poster that I have that says 4th film by Quentin Tarantino. I'm like, no, Uma did this.
Yeah, right. 4th film, but first porn by Quentin Tarantino.
Definitely not his first.
I also love, maybe I'll like post it on Twitter or something, when he dated Trisha Paytas.
I was just...
I'm obsessed with that. I'm obsessed that that's a thing that happened. Like, we live in a simulation.
Yeah, no. Do you think he ever still hits her up? Do you think he follows her OnlyFans? Have you ever been on her OnlyFans? I really hope so.
I've seen stuff that she's done with other people that I didn't have to pay for. Cause just like out of pure, just like curiosity, like what could Trisha possibly be? No. But I think one of my favorite videos on the entire internet is her singing that song from A Star Is Born. And she sings both the Lady Gaga and the Bradley Cooper parts, and she goes, when I'm wearing the hat and the boy, and she's like sitting on her kitchen floor. Oh, maybe I'll link that below as well. I love that video. If I need to pick me up, that's my content.
That's the other thing too, is Trisha Paytas is so problematic in herself that like, her and Quentin Tarantino, honestly, like they should have that
perfect match.
It should have never ended.
But so do we want to get into sort of like our regularly scheduled programming of questions?
We want to fuck, marry, kill first? Or do we want to... Okay.
Yeah. Let's fuck, marry, kill, and I think we decided that the main 3 of this are obviously our 3 female assassins. You've got the bride, you've got Oren, and you've got... Green. What's Vivica? Renita Green? I just want to call her Vivica A. Fox every time. Black Mamba, Copperhead, and Cottonmouth. So, who are you fucking marrying and killing in this?
This is a really tough scenario. It's very tough. I think... See, because here's my thing, is I don't know a lot about Beatrix. You don't ever really get to meet her besides, like, her revenge plot and all that stuff. I don't know what her hobbies are. I don't know what she likes. Also, she has a child. I'm, like, spoiler alert. But, like, that's how the movie ends, is, like, Bill's like, oh, her daughter's alive. I don't want to deal with that. So I'm not gonna marry her. I will be fucking her instead. I'm gonna marry Oren, actually, because I would love to be her little trophy wife while she's running the crime ring. Like, come home, I'm like, yeah, baby, I made you dinner. Like, what's it? And then I guess I'm just gonna have to kill Vernita, also because she has a child and a husband, and that's really off-putting.
Really sound reasoning. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm absolutely marrying Lucy Liu.
Yeah.
I want to be a mom wife. I want to be a mom wife. Like, I'll say it.
You after
I'll
watching
say
The
it here.
Sopranos.
Not like I want to be her mom wife, and specifically, I want to like hang out and like eat pizza with the fucking crazy idiots. I want to be besties with Go-Go. Like, I'm sorry,
I forgot. So when I was trying to think of like who we were gonna do for this for Fuck, Marry, Kill, I forgot that Go-Go was 17. So I'm like, okay, like we're obviously not putting her in there. But I was sitting there. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I would be too scared. She's horrifying. She is terrifying. I don't think I could even be her friend. But, like, Go-Go is terrifying, and, like, I'm not gonna yuck someone's yum, but that bitch has a blood king. That bitch has a blood king.
Oh my God.
And listen, if that's your thing, fine, but you terrify me. I don't think I could be...
I'm obsessed.
I couldn't be in the same room with her.
I love the way O-Ren has designed her sort of posse because it's technically brilliant. She's like 88 trained assassins in full suits and masks and one alt teen. One alt teen who carries a fucking spike ball. Like, yes, absolutely. I am so here for this. And she's like, everyone is going to be in full uniform at all times, no questions, but Go-Go, you keep that schoolgirl outfit on.
I'm like, what would I wear? What would my wife have me wear?
Yeah.
Just a robe. Just a robe.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, absolutely marrying Lucy Liu. You probably wouldn't be allowed to wear shoes.
I don't need to wear shoes.
If we're talking about costume.
Can I wear socks? As long as I can wear socks, then I'm fine.
My feet get cold. I have bad circulation.
Yeah, socks.
I need like little fuzzy booties, socks. Like little fuzzy
the
booties.
Thick fuzzy socks. I bet you could. That throws off the entire aesthetic.
Quentin would have my head on a platter if I showed up to set in little fuzzy booties.
He'd have a full meltdown. He's like, off, get him off!
But honestly, I mean, not to harp on the feet thing, Uma Thurman does not have traditionally aesthetically pleasing feet. Her feet are kind of wonky looking. Her toes are kind of like crooked. Maybe he's
just
into
like
that.
A tall
Maybe
person.
That's his...
You know what I mean? Tall people got tall feet.
Yeah, you have like long
mean?
toes. That's true. You know what they say about long toes?
Long body.
But then I think I'm gonna kill Beatrix because, like, I don't think I can handle all that. She's too much for me. I don't, and like baggage, and she's been fucked enough. Like she needs a break, so I'm gonna just kill her, and then I'm gonna fuck Vivica A. Fox because goddamn is that woman?
It's that tracksuit.
And kid aside,
the velour tracksuit.
It's the tracksuit.
Mm-hmm. It's always the velour tracksuit.
We can do it all. It all comes down to a velour tracksuit every time. Like a juicy tracksuit. But yeah, we can just like do it while our kids at school or something. Like it can just be, it doesn't matter. And then if we're
whole movie,
I want to marry. I want to marry Hattori
That's what I was.
Yeah, it's just the obvious choice. He runs a little restaurant. I can hang out in the restaurant, but then, like, if need be, I know he will go to war.
So we're marrying Hattori Hanzo. We're killing Bach, of course. That's the only choice in this movie. But who?
Did no one think that the male nurse who drives to work in a pussy wagon, which probably they should like Corey check him or something? That somebody should be keeping an eye on his activities around the coma patients? Like, did nobody like take that as like a little bit of a red flag?
There's like one resident that's like, "Hey guys," and no one listens to him. But who are you fucking then? Because I think if I'm not gonna marry O-Ren in this situation, then I'm gonna fuck O-Ren.
I might fuck her. Yeah. But yeah, Lucy Liu is like the hottest person alive. So
I love her now.
Have to agree with
Have you ever seen her artwork? Just her gay artwork? It's just like
yes,
just strictly like naked queer women. I'm like, I love you. Thank you so much. Can I just marry
Love this for
Lucy
you.
Liu herself?
Right. I also specifically would like her to have the haircut that she has when they shoot Beatrice, like at the wedding, when she has that sort of like
I know exactly.
the like it's not fringe, but like the like little flared ends of her hair. So good. I want her to have that haircut. That's another like nobody can pull off
Except
that
for Lucy
haircut
Liu,
unless
yeah.
you're as hot as Lucy Liu. Yeah.
And so what are you eating and drinking? Because I think like I'm not outstandingly creative with this one. But like if I would love to have Hattori Hanzo make me sushi, and if he's not gonna make me sushi, I'd rather have someone else make me sushi because I just want sushi.
Yeah, I was gonna say sushi and sake feels like a little on the nose and a little like I don't know, just like directly referential, but it's right. Like it.
Like
it
here's my
would feel
thing.
right.
Here's my thing. I'm not gonna call it a ripoff, but like this movie is directly like taking from Japanese movies and culture and everything like that immediately. Why don't you just do the same fucking thing for your meal and you just go get Whole Foods sushi? It's not gonna be as good.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be American, but at least it's sushi.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Kill Bill of sushis is like from the pre-prepared food section at Weichmann's. Yeah, absolutely. Or like support a good if you have like a good local sushi place. Yeah. Support somebody who's not white who's making sushi.
Go to your local Japanese market if you have one.
I also like honestly feel like I don't want to eat during this movie.
Is it the blood?
Like, I'm too. It's not even the blood. It's like I'm too
That's
focused. True. I'm like too engrossed in this movie to be like participating in a big like food thing. I know that like goes against our whole thing, but like honestly, we had like a big spread of like chips and guac and salsa and everything while I was like, I can't even eat right now. I'm like, I have to stare.
I can't rip my eyeballs away from these pixels on this screen for a second. Yeah, no. I'm like drink wise, I'm like, what would Beatrix drink? What's her drink of choice? Like straight whiskey.
Like something like a gin and tonic, but like no tonic.
Yeah.
Like
a gimlet. Drink a gimlet.
Ew. Yeah. Gross. Ew. I would say you could do something aggressively yellow, so you could do like a spiked like lemonade or something to match her outfit if you want to be like aesthetically, I guess. That would just be like an easy and drink it with like a black straw. So get like an alcoholic lemonade with a long black straw so your drink looks like her in that outfit. Could maybe work.
For some reason too, like in my head I'm like maybe not like a cheesecake per se, but I'm thinking like all the like the bloody visuals and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking of like a lava cake, but it's got like a fucking like a raspberry filling.
Like raspberry.
That'd be really hot.
You know what? Actually, I have an answer for this. This movie is hard and harsh, and what makes me feel cozy and nice is an Entenmann's Danish. It's like I just wanted like a raspberry and cheese Entenmann's Danish from like the pre-prepared. It just tastes like preservatives. Like it's not that good, but I love it.
You did just tweet
it's
about
just
these
so
Danishes.
good. I just love an Entenmann's Danish, and when you just need a little like, I love a little Entenmann's Danish. Yeah, get like the raspberry one for blood. I guess this is just me speaking about
Dara
what
just
I
really
want
wants
to
a
eat
Danish
right now,
right now.
which is. But like not a good one. Like it needs to be from that like shitty section of the grocery store of like pre-prepared like Hostess cakes. Like it needs to be an Entenmann's Danish. And that's like not a good answer, but
so
and then,
do you have anything else to follow this up with besides just the second movie? Because that's the only thing I can with like in good faith tell you to watch. Is you just have to watch the second movie.
Yeah, there's a version that you can get, I think maybe they had it on DVD. I don't know if you can get it to rent, but it's called like Kill Bill, the whole damn thing. Or so that's not what it's actually called,
Something
but it's like it's both movies just edited into a 4-hour long film. And there are some things that are different. Like there are some scenes that are extended a little bit. There's some like musical differences, and it's basically just like the director's cut of like what this movie was before they obviously split it into two. And I'm like, just watch that. Watch the whole thing as one whole big shebang. Like it just feels right. And then alternatively, if you do need the Entenmann's Danish of films, like if you need to just like cool down with something that is just gonna not have any blood and or feet or, you know, that, you could just watch something nice like, I don't know, like Muppet Treasure Island or something. Like watch like, I don't know, like what's like the most wholesome, comforting movie you can
I think you
of?
watched this. You you remake Dara and I's 14-year-old encounter, and you watch this movie, and then you watch Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. We watched Dirty
did watch
Dancing
Dirty
first.
Dancing
I
first.
recall. Because I remember the whole time I was like, oh no, this is not going to go over well. Because if this is Emily's favorite movie, I'm going to make her watch something violent and horrible. And I was like, oh no, this is not gonna,
It worked out.
This is not going to. Also, I specifically remember we drank Shirley Temples, like bottled Shirley Temples from Wegmans. So if you want to recreate our 9th grade friendship experience, smoke some bad weed and watch those 2 movies in your parents' basement. And then what do you give this out of 10? This is like, I feel conflicted, but I'm giving it an 8.
See, I'm gonna give it a 9 still. It's one of those things, like, without, like, the context and everything I know about this movie, I would give it a 10, because I love this movie, and like you said, it's a movie that you hate to love, so I can't in in good conscience give it a 10, so I'll give it a 9.
But like Harvey Weinstein is dead, and we can dance on his grave.
I forget
so
that he
it's
died.
like, you know, yeah. I think he died. No, he died in prison. Did he die in prison?
Did he die?
Yeah, he's dead. He died in 2017. Oh, he killed himself.
Really?
Yeah, he killed himself. Disgraced Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein shot and killed himself. He was 65. Yeah.
Wait. Did he kill himself? Sorry, not to keep cutting you. I just can't.
What do you mean? When I Google how did Harvey Weinstein die, are you saying he got fucking Jeffrey Epstein?
No, I just don't think he's dead. I don't think Harvey Weinstein's
He is
dead. We're gonna have to we could cut this
He
out.
died. Wait, is Harvey Weinstein
I
still
think
alive?
Harvey Weinstein's still alive. Yeah, his Wikipedia doesn't have a death date. Harvey Weinstein is still alive.
Why does this say
Years
that he
active,
shot and
like,
killed
until
himself?
2017. I think he went to jail 2017. This man is alive. He is 70, he's 69 years old.
Why does this article literally say he shot and killed himself? I am so... Let's see, the U.S. Sun.
It's the sun, yeah, that's why.
Why? Literally, why is there a whole article saying that he shot and killed himself? This is just, like, factually
No, it's
untrue.
for idiot podcasters to read.
So, below, I'll be linking the articles, the interview with Uma Thurman from the New York Times, and also this article from The Sun that says that Harvey Weinstein is dead.
If only.
Because we fact checked. Well, he's dead to the world, so.
On that note.
All right. Okay. So thank you all for joining us. Like I said earlier, please continue to DM us with your movie suggestions, theme suggestions, chocolate or vanilla, fact corrections, fun facts. You know, it doesn't have to be in the nature of being corrective, but I promise we always take it the right way. If we pronounce his name is Ralph Phineas. So, but this has been our continuation of Banger Soundtrack Week. Next week, we'll be hitting you with another fucking banger. So keep your eyes peeled. Everything will be linked in the description below. That article I talked about, as well as all of our socials, TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Go follow us, please. We love you. And let's see. Do I have any parting words for our audience? Probably not. Maybe just go get yourself a velour tracksuit. That's my
every
my
time.
parting words. Let's all get matching. Ooh, if I put like velour tracksuits with like the swamp in rhinestones on the ass on our merch, well, can we all get
every
matching?
single
'Cause
listener
every
has to buy
listener
one.
has to buy them, and we can all match. It'll be like an ugly green color, and it'll say the swamp across the ass. I think that
I
could be
think that's
really
a great
cute for
idea.
all of us. Let me know what you guys think. And goodbye and good night. 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 Goodbye and good night.